Freeport Area Senior High School has had success through the years with its performing arts programs, especially with the formation of the unified body of Freeport Area Performing Arts. This program is envied by surrounding schools, considered to be the closest thing to professional performing arts as a high school could have. This program, also known as FRAPA, could be seen as the culmination of its growth, and many will preach how it unifies talent and friendships.
I was involved in the choir and the performing arts, musicals and things through school, and always enjoyed doing them. I wanted to be a teacher, and I felt why not merge the two things together. Being involved in music and the performing arts is extremely important and beneficial to students' growth and finding themselves and their independence and ability to express emotions and feelings beyond what they might normally do outside of those arts.
What's interesting about FRAPA is these people are going to go do all kinds of different things, like biology and like pre-med and whatever. They're going to go do amazing things outside of it, but we can all come together into this one central space and enjoy what we love doing, which is singing and acting and performing.
FRAPA has been present in my daily life as something that has just made me happy. The extra work's one thing, but it's given me friends, an outlet for my creativity, and just something to do to be part of a bigger whole that I've really enjoyed over the years, and that's probably the biggest impact it's had on me.
Just something that has always brought me joy, something that I've always loved to do, and being a teacher, I love to see students' progress and growth, and that's very rewarding. Teachers don't make a lot of money, so this is the one perk we have, is to kind of see kids excel and succeed, and you can do that in a short amount of time in a musical program. You can see a kid start not knowing anything and taking a book with words and turn it into a whole show, and that's very fulfilling.
Students that are involved in our performing arts programs develop relationships with each other that extend far beyond what happens on a stage, and I think that's extremely important.
I have made such good friends and such good peers in this great, it's like a family, really. And so I wouldn't have been so attached to it if I didn't have these lovely people that have been pushing me to do my best since elementary school.
I was always really involved in stuff when I was from elementary, middle school, high school, and I seemed to not only have an interest in that, but I had a knack for doing it. I remember when I first got my first saxophone in 4th grade that I walked and put it proudly together and ran down the street of my neighborhood acting like I knew what I was doing. So when you find something that you love, it doesn't turn out to be work after all.
Participation in music programs and different performing arts requires you to think outside of the box, to be willing to take risks, to manage various different skills at the same time, whether it be acting and singing and dancing simultaneously. And it builds a sense of responsibility and accountability that can then be applied to almost every other aspect of your life.
I think students should consider doing FRAPA's programs because more than anything, look, there's valuable skill sets to learn, like public speaking, having a presence in a room. If you go into any career field, you'll need to be able to speak. You'll need to be able to make those connections. The stage will teach you that. And if you look at marching band, you'll learn how to work as a collective and how to work within a larger group as a functioning gear of that machine.
It is even if you're not going to do musical theater, or even if you don't think that you're that great of a singer or that great of a dancer or whatever it is, it's a soul building type experience. You don't need to be the greatest at singing or music or whatever. You just need to be a good person. And I think that doing these shows, it brings perspective. Because even right now, we're doing Les Mis. We're learning so much with doing this show because we're even learning about history in doing this show. And that's just it works your brain. It works your creative side of your brain that sometimes the academics don't let you do. And you need to let that creativity out.
The challenges are you're working with many different levels of movers. So you might have kids that have studied dance or different types of dance, and you might have kids that don't know their left foot from their right. And you hope that over the course of time that they'll pick it up or find that they are really capable, but sometimes the ideas that we come up with in our head and what we think it's going to look like don't always transpose to the stage. So that can be challenging.
The challenges of bringing new students into the programs at FRAPA are, we know a lot of students have other activities they're doing. Like fall is very hard to get students sometimes to audition because you have band and you have soccer and you have cross country and all different things, happening. But we're pretty good with our flexibility, especially in the fall, of if people have to miss rehearsals, as long as we know where they're at, Like, and if we know that, they have another commitment and we have notice of that. It's when people don't show up and you don't know where they are. And, and the ones here are taking it so seriously, and that's hard.
Whatever's going on at home, we hope that they can come and kind of leave that at the door and be in a safe space. Like we always say, the theater is like our safe space. It's sacred. But we also know that kids are pressured by so many things beyond just home life, but their friends, just being a teenager, and of course all the work that they're doing in school. And that has to come first, and this has to be extracurricular, and there's a fine line. And being a teacher, I have to be somebody that's aware of that and making sure that they're doing what they need to do.
Everybody always thinks first and foremost about finance, budgeting. Is there enough money to take care of the things you need to do? Putting on a musical, for example, is really expensive. Having a choral program is expensive. Music costs a lot of money. There's some budgetary concerns are always there, but that's not really surprising. Well, fortunately, our programs are self-sustaining. We generate revenue from our ticket sales and the success of a previous show and apply that forward to the next production. So pretty much everything's done in-house. I feel like I'm a little bit of an entrepreneur, trying to develop the business end of the musicals, always thinking about the next show. But I've also realized over time that if you want to have a good product, you have to pay for it. You get what you pay for. And when I used to pinch every penny, I look back at the quality of the shows and they weren't what they are now. So sometimes, almost like the government, you have to spend it to make it.
I think the challenging thing of teaching performing arts is, again, you really don't know until the auditions what level of students you have or commitment with students. For me, I think the hardest thing for me to see as somebody teaching or directing, be a choreographer, is I want people to come in not only to enjoy this experience, but I want them to take it seriously. And my issue is I feel some people don't. I'm big on be prepared and practice like you perform, right? I say those all the time, because if you come in even to an audition thinking you can be that part. I mean, I've seen so many people come into auditions, ripped jeans and old shirt, whatever, and who are they trying to be? I mean, my biggest thing, if I could teach kids, is to be prepared for your audition. Accept, you're not going to get every part that you think you might be right for. And usually we have a pretty good track record at casting people in our shows, but then come prepared as you can. Learn as much of the show as you can before rehearsal starts. We should be off book totally in Les Mis. Some people are still not. And it's concerning to me because they've had the script for 2 months. So I think my biggest challenge is because I do take it professionally. And I think because I have such a professional background in theater that I raise the bar on that level for these students. Like I said, I want it to be enjoyable, but I want it to be as professional experience as they can have also.
The next thing that might be a challenge would be recruitment and retention. But again, not really surprising. Chorus is an elective, and if I'm not actively out there trying to find people to be members of it or putting together a good product that folks want to be a part of, the choir could easily dwindle down. There aren't a whole lot of other teaching roles like that in the school. A math teacher, for instance, is going to have a full load of class regardless, because everyone has to take math. Same thing with English. But electives, no matter what they are, require some kind of a connection to make people want to do it year after year. But again, not really surprising. What I think might, over the years, I've found to be a little bit of a challenge that I didn't expect when I started, was finding repertoire or music that connects to students, but still trying to find music that's going to reach a specific, targeted, purposeful educational goal and be good music while also satisfying those intrinsic values that students have. And I think music selection, repertoire study would perhaps be the more surprising thing.
For me, what makes it worthwhile is the people, above all else. Obviously, there's going to be the satisfaction of performance. And even for me, I don't do it for the performance. I do it for the sake of the arts. But I will admit there's still that rush of going out on stage and presenting what you've worked on for others. But to me, above all else, even above that, is the people, the connections that you make while you're here, and just the memories.
First we worked here, I taught Russian, and then Russian and German. And then I started doing the plays, just the plays, not musicals. We didn't have musicals till 1971, and then I was assistant to the band director. And so I did teach, and then started doing the plays. Then we started doing the musicals. Technically, I mean, even just lighting and sound and sound effects and is much more complex today than we had. We used to have, for example, for our sound, we had microphones hanging from the bars on stage. Each person didn't wear individual mics, stuff like that. Even the lead roles, we just had them hanging and got the best sound that we could.
We're blessed to have a wonderful theater in that middle school. It is state of the art. It's got all of the bells and whistles that you would want in a professional theater, and allows us to do things that were not possible in the former high school auditorium with the limited lighting capacity and capabilities, the sound capabilities and whatnot. So it created more energy in the program as a result of having those resources.
You know, the high school auditorium is fairly old. I actually performed there many years ago myself. I was there doing Hello Dolly. The first year we had microphones. It's just allowed us to be a lot more creative. We have more space in our wings. We have more, like our control booth, we can do much more with our sound and our lighting. And it's also to credit Mr. Koharchuk, who the technical aspects of the show, you know, he is so good at that and such a pro at that. And I think it's helped elevate all the level here. Our band here, it's the orchestra, to have them here. And now that we've moved them to the side, which I wish we had done a few years earlier, because we did like 42nd Street where they were right in front. The only thing I wish in this stage, the stage would be higher and the auditorium would have sloped more. But that's you know, like you go to other auditoriums though and you do appreciate this. You know, I had a student from another school, like I had to pick something up here, and they're in awe. They've come to the shows and they've been in awe of. Other students are also in awe that we do 2 musicals a year. That doesn't happen at most high schools. And even a lot of schools don't do middle school musicals either, let alone elementary school. So like the Freeport FRAPA, Freeport musical program has really been built up to a level that I really, you know, if I was a parent and your child was interested in the arts, would be trying to get them into Freeport to go.
Personally, I think there should be a play. I first started doing the plays. They did a junior class play and a senior class play, one in November and one in February, and then the musical was usually in April or May. And I like the plays too because it gives them a little more experience with acting, with straight plays, you know. And some of them were comedies, of course, and we did everything from. We did dinner theater up in the cafeteria for 3 or 4 shows. That was a lot of fun. I do think that the plays could give you a little more acting experience. I mean, you have it. You have to have it for a musical, and but it's a little. I feel it's a little looser with a musical.
When the decision was made years ago to go from a play to a musical in the fall, I only heard from a few students that would have preferred to keep it a play. I made a decision to go to a musical because it seemed to be more of what the audience would like. There's more community support and enthusiasm over musicals. There are a lot of musicals that require smaller casts, orchestration that may be a little bit difficult for live musicians, things like that. So we wanted to have the opportunity to do that. The first show we did in the fall as a musical was Into the Woods, and we only had, I think, 16 people in the cast. So we wanted to keep it kind of small. The orchestration with Sondheim was challenging, so we used recorded music. It just afforded us the ability to do some musicals that we otherwise might not program for the spring. I have thought about going back to a play, but I haven't made a decision one way or the other yet about what I want to do in the future for that.
So we've had a lot of students do that over the years, some more years than others, and right now it's a great time to get into education. I think that there aren't as many people going into teaching positions right now or going to school for that, but I do think that it's going to start picking up again, and that I would highly recommend that if you want something that is definitely a job that will fulfill you. It's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, in college to prepare yourself for that, but if you want a job that just is not only fun, but something you can get up every day and feel like you're making a difference, being a music educator is definitely for you.
Well, I've been doing musical theater since elementary school. I was in the first production that we ever did at Buffalo Elementary School, which was Winnie the Pooh. And ever since then, I fell in love with it. So I've stuck with it since then at school, but then I also do stuff outside of school. I've done stuff at a few places like Stage Right, Jeter Backyard Theater, and my most recent is The Collective. I would say that as long as that is the only thing that you want to do, like if you think that you could be interested in anything else, go do it. Because you can always come back to musical theater, you know what I mean? But like, if musical theater is what you know you want to do, like you've known it, like you don't even have to know it for a really long time, but if you know that that is what's going to make you happy, then do it. Because going through the musical theater audition process is crazy and scary and frustrating, but you have to realize that like, it's a beautiful process. I mean, even though it's scary, it's a beautiful process, and you're gonna end up wherever you end up. And honestly, it's not a reflection of your talent, it's a reflection of you as a human being. Like, you are great enough and talented enough to go anywhere, you know? You just have to let the world kind of pick, you know? So I think it's a great thing to do. I mean, we need more creative people.
Practice, 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 and be open to constructive criticism. Get as much of it as you can. Ask as many people in the field for help and assistance, and take the things that they say, apply the ones that you agree with, and say thank you to the ones that you don't agree with, but keep an open mind and be willing to take risks.
I started performing very young, but by the time I was in high school, I was very serious about musical theater. So I participated in all the high school musicals, which I loved. And then I had a chance to do some community theater for New Kensington Civic Light Opera, I think it was called at that time. And then I got my equity card before I went to college at NYU, doing Nona Nanette, which was the show we did here as well a couple years ago. And then professionally it was exciting. It was hard. It's a life I wouldn't recommend for anybody unless they want to do nothing else. My first show that I got the national tour and Broadway production of was 42nd Street. And I actually recreated that here in 2020 at Freeport. And we had one night and we were shut down because of COVID. So that was really sad, and it's still sad for me, but we did have a chance to get a videotape of it. And that show will always hold a special place in my heart.
Oh, I hope that it continues. I hope that we still keep putting out big shows that are bigger and better than ever. That like I can be an old lady and still come to the show and pay the senior citizen rate to see the show.
I think they still need to improve on the technically and the stages itself. They need larger stages. They need more. They need more room for just costumes and props and stuff like that. And that I know we didn't have here. And at the middle school, from what I've seen, there's not a whole lot of room. There should be much more.
I just hope to see it continue to grow and continue to build on the tradition of excellence that we've established throughout the years, and be something that brings pride to the community and that folks look forward to coming to see every year.
I want to see talent come in waves and droves to be a part of this. Because while we might not be a performing arts school, we're not your Lincoln Center. We're just about the best, to me, that you can get anywhere near here that's, still your friendly neighborhood public school. So I would love to see the marching band come to a new level. I would love to see the musicals somehow progress to be even further be even better and brighter than they are now.
Freeport area performing arts continues to grow and spread throughout the community, attracting people from surrounding schools to come see the performances of these young student musicians, actors, and dancers.